The one thing I'll say about having multiple sclerosis is that it does make you think about what's most important in your life. Well, hello and welcome to another episode of You and Me and Multiple Sclerosis. My name is Pam, and I've been living with multiple sclerosis for 38 years. Well, a few videos ago, I reviewed a book by Raymond Pruitt where he talked about how he dealt with his own MS and how he thought about it. And he was referring to the phase of MS where he started to accept and adopt and adapt. And he felt that was the prevailing stage of MS. And I got to thinking about that and I thought, well, okay, I'm going to look at my own life and my own experience with MS. If I were able to go back in time and talk to my 20-year-old self before I knew I had MS, and I were to ask her, what are the 3 most important factors that make your life satisfying? I don't know for sure what she would say, but I'm not really sure it's all that different from what I would say now. Autonomy, which is the ability to do things for yourself, not necessarily just physical things either, but autonomy in terms of decision making. If you don't want to do something, no one's going to make you do it. That sort of thing. That was important to me then, and it's important to me now. Accomplishment has always been important to me. Being able to set a goal and work toward it and accomplish it. And I think that's still very important to me now. And then finally, connection. I've always been a person who loved other people and wanted to be with them and do things with them and interact and have friendships. And I still do. So in that sense, I really haven't changed much in all the years that I've had MS. But the way that I think about those 3 things may have changed a little bit over the years. I'll describe my life as it progressed with MS in terms of certain milestones, and I'll think of those in terms of points in my life where I knew I had to make a change. And the very first one was probably not until I was in my 40s, and that was the wearing of high-heeled shoes. Now, I know that sounds kind of silly to some people, but when I was working and all of my 20s and 30s and into my 40s, I loved to wear high-heeled shoes. At the time, I was about 5'9", so with 3-inch heels, I was 6 feet tall. And so it was really kind of nice. I was eye level with almost everybody. One of the things that I found too was that I was able to walk in high heels just as fast as people would walk in flats. I think part of it is that I have sort of a type A walk where I would take long strides and pretty quick ones. And I remember walking down the hall with one of my male colleagues and he kept saying, slow down, I can't keep up with you. And he's wearing sneakers and I'm wearing high-heeled shoes. There came a point when my balance just wasn't all that reliable. And I got to thinking to myself, you could turn an ankle doing this. It's really not worth it anymore. And I finally had to say, I better start looking for some nice flats to wear to work because I just don't think I can do these high heels anymore. And it took years before I finally got rid of my last pair of high-heeled shoes. Not that I wore them, but every once in a while I would just run across them in my closet and just all the memories that would come back when I did. It was hard for me to part with them, but I finally did. I finally gave them away. And that was the end of that. But did that mean that I no longer had autonomy? No, it didn't. I still had made that decision myself to stop wearing high-heeled shoes. Nobody told me I had to. I just chose to do that because it seemed like the sensible thing to do. Did it change my ability to accomplish what I wanted to accomplish? No, not at all. The kinds of goals that I had could be done just as well in flat shoes as they could in high-heeled shoes. And then finally, connection. Did I lose friendships or the ability to make new friends because I wasn't wearing high heels? No, of course not. That would have been silly. So even though I did not want to give up wearing high-heeled shoes, once I did, I found, well, it's just less stressful because I don't have to worry about turning an ankle. And I want to pause right there because I think this is the big thing that MS does. It changes your relationship with stress. In my younger years, I liked stress in a way. It was sort of a motivator. It made sure that I got things done, that I stayed on task. I didn't mind having a whole bunch of deadlines and things going on and places to be. I actually enjoyed that. But with MS, your ability to juggle all those different commitments really becomes impaired, and over time, more and more so. So I found that by giving up wearing high-heeled shoes, I just eliminated that little bit of stress from my life. And as you'll see, that kind of became a theme for me as my MS progressed and I had to make some different decisions about how I was going to live my life. Similarly, when I started to really not be able to walk in a straight line reliably, I realized that it probably wouldn't be a bad idea to start using a cane. And that was the main reason that I wanted it, not because I needed to support myself or anything, not because I was necessarily too tired to walk distances. It's just that I needed what my friend Mona calls contact guard with the ground to just kind of keep me going in a straight line. I resisted that for the longest time. I just kind of felt like, well, okay, if I start using a cane, that's sort of the badge of disability. I don't really want to do that. But eventually I decided, all right, this is just ridiculous. You're always in danger of walking into things or veering too far off course, falling off the sidewalk, whatever. It wasn't worth it. The added stress of trying to keep myself moving in the right direction just wasn't worth it anymore. And so I did go and invest in a cane. Nobody made me do that, but I decided to do it. And after I did, I suddenly realized, wait a minute, the whole world's kind of different to me now because I can walk with more confidence to get where I'm going. The other nice little sideline was that when people saw me coming with a cane, they tended to get out of my way. And that included mothers pulling their kids out of the way when they saw me coming down the aisle. They didn't want their kid running in front of me. And I actually ended up being able to navigate the world much better than I had before. So if we go back to my three important factors to make my life satisfying, did using a cane decrease my autonomy? No, not at all. In fact, it kind of helped me go places and do things with more confidence than I'd been able to before. Did it keep me from accomplishing the kinds of things that I wanted to do? Well, no, not really. I think by that time I hadn't really been doing the long walks that I had been doing sometime before that. I used to enjoy doing long walks, but by the time I was using a cane, I was really realizing that that was not going to be a part of my life much anymore. But other than that, the kinds of things that I've wanted to accomplish, I've been able to do that just fine with a cane. And then connection, of course, it didn't make any difference at all to my relationships, to my friendships, to my ability to meet people and make friends. It actually helped me because if you stand talking to somebody without a cane, I just kind of felt a little wobbly sometimes, or that I kept shifting my weight from foot to foot and it was tiring. With the cane, I was able to stand and talk with people a lot longer than I had been before. So in a way, it was a good thing to get the cane. Well, not too much longer after that, I finally broke down and applied for a disability placard to put in the rearview mirror. By that time, I wasn't really driving anymore. My husband or whoever I was with would be the driver, but when we looked for a place to park, I didn't used to want to call attention to my disability by having that placard on the mirror. But eventually I realized, wait a minute, it's just causing me too much stress to not know for sure how far away I'm going to have to park. There are times when it's not a clear path from where you park to the door of the place that you need to go. It was becoming less predictable that I would be able to do it easily. And so I thought, well, why not? I don't have to use disabled parking if I don't feel like I need it, but it's sure nice to have it when I need it. And again, it alleviated some of the stress that I had been feeling, and it made my life that much better. Did it change the three factors that make my life satisfying? Well, let's see. Did it change my autonomy? No, not at all. I don't see any difference in my ability to make my own decisions and to pretty much determine how I want to live my life just because I have a disabled placard on the mirror. Did it change my ability to accomplish what I want to accomplish? Well, no, and in fact, it kind of helped because now I could park in a place that was fairly close to where I needed to go, so I wasn't spending energy getting from my car to the door of the building that I wanted to go in. I could use my energy to accomplish things that I really wanted to accomplish. And then finally, connection. Did having a disabled placard make it harder for me to make or maintain friendships? No, it did not. So, and I think it's pretty clear to you that that would be the case. But it's worth pointing it out. I think the things that when I was 20, I would have said, oh no, I could never do any of that because that would take away from the things that are important to me. But once I actually gave those things up, I found that that wasn't really true at all. And then a few weeks back, we had a spell of cold weather just after a little bit of moisture had fallen. And one day, the sidewalks and the roads were just ice. And I was paralyzed. I thought, I can't leave the house because even with a cane, whatever, I can't be sure that I'm not going to fall. And concrete steps are pretty unforgiving. So I went ahead and ordered a rollator, which I haven't really used. I haven't had to use it, but I'm glad I have it because it doesn't take away my autonomy. It increases my autonomy. Now I can go where I want to go without relying on somebody else to take me there. The same thing with accomplishment. How can I accomplish what I want if I'm trapped in the house, but I need to go out? But I'm scared to go out because of the ice. Well, now I don't have to worry about that anymore. And again, connection. Well, actually, it's kind of fun because if you use a rollator, in our church anyway, you've got quite a little peer group because lots of folks in our church use rollators. So no way is it going to change my ability to make connections with people. And then just this last week, on the 15th of February, I made the big decision to turn in my driver's license and replace it with an ID card. Now, I haven't driven a car in probably 15 years, but I still maintained my license. I renewed it every time it came up for renewal, just because I thought, okay, well, it's nice to have that license just in case, right? But after a while, I'm thinking, just in case what? The more years that go by that I'm not driving, the less qualified I am to be out on the road. One of the things that my husband had always said was, well, if you maintain a driver's license, then if there's an emergency, you can drive. And finally, I said to him, you know what? If there's an emergency, I will drive, and they can give me a ticket or throw me in jail if they want to. But if it's an emergency and I have to drive, I'll drive. The license isn't going to matter one way or the other. So I gave up my driver's license, and that was a big deal. I think for a lot of folks, that would be a real watershed moment in life. But you know what? I feel really good about it because now I don't have the stress in my life of worrying about, oh no, my license is going to need renewing. Am I going to pass the vision test? Because in our state, you don't have to retake the road test, but you do have to pass the vision test. And with MS, as you well know, there are days when your vision is pretty good. There are days when it's not so great. It just changes. And I just didn't want to have to run into that. And I was thinking and overthinking about what it would be and how it would go and Was I going to be dealing with someone who would be patient and understanding, or was it going to be really crowded and I was rushed and all that? And, that's a lot of stress. So I am really happy to have that stress out of my life. And has it changed anything in my life? Well, no, it hasn't. The three things that I think are important: autonomy, accomplishment, and connection. Well, if they were going to go downhill because I didn't have a driver's license, they would have done that years ago, because I haven't been driving anyway. I've been getting rides from friends, and my husband takes me where I need to go a lot of the time. I haven't really lost anything. So I guess all that by way of saying, I think sometimes we build things up in our minds to be a lot more of a sacrifice, a lot more detrimental to our well-being than they really are. There's always a trade-off, right? I mean, yes, it's great to be able to hop in the car and drive down to the store or visit a friend or whatever you're going to do, but is that really so limiting to not be able to do it just whenever you want to? I guess maybe it's a question of reframing a little bit what we mean by autonomy, and what we mean by accomplishment, and what we mean by connection. I don't see that I've had any decrease in the satisfaction that I can derive from my life just because I had to give up high heels, just because I now walk with a cane, just because I use a disability placard, just because I have a rollator in case it's icy, and just because I don't have a driver's license. And I guess I'm saying all this as a way of being encouraging to you, because perhaps you're facing some of those choices too, and you're thinking to yourself, oh, I can't give that up because then my life will be less. My life won't be as rewarding to me. I don't know that we want to look at things that way. We are still worthwhile human beings, and we still have people in our lives who love us and care about us, and that isn't going to change. But one thing that will change is that you'll be less stressed. I know I was. And when you're less stressed, you're actually more fun to be around. I think that my husband is probably already seeing the benefits of my being less stressed over things. That's about the best gift I think I could give him at this point. Well, that's all I had to say today. I hope that you're encouraged by that. I'd love to know in the comments below. Let me know. Does any of that make sense to you? Are you faced with any kinds of choices yourself? You're thinking, oh, I can't let go of that? Let me know. Well, in the meantime, take really good care of yourself. I'll see you again in my next video.